And we are live.
Are we gonna go over the artwork as well, please?
Of course.
Starting with Weedle and ending with Weedle, please. Because that needs to be said.
God, look at that. That's genius.
Having his own little Rocky montage with his
With
mate Heracross.
Tweet. Your best friend, how you doing? Is this the praise Persimmon stream? You bet it is. I am so ready to praise Persimmon.
Seems like a good card.
Seems like the best card in the set.
But let's not forget that currently the telescopic sight is seeing no play.
No, that's true. But
So don't get baited.
don't get baited, but also
But when you get to play both, oh
yes. Telescopic sight is seeing no play.
no.
But try doing 180 snipes instead, and all of a sudden, truly a game-breaking card, Weedle. I mean, with art like that, this is going straight in the TCG decks.
Broke my heart.
Absolutely busted. Even the Cocoon has got good art.
Yep.
All three just bam, bam, bam. Looking good. All three of these might make it into the decks, to be honest.
Not the Beedrill. There's definitely better Beedrills. Beedrill used to be a hollow all the time, so there's some goody gumdrops. This could be a hollow, actually.
Yeah,
but still.
It will be.
But still.
Yeah. Single strike to Kakuna. Finally, we know what kind of style it uses. What's the second attack on Beedrill? We'll go through it all. Don't you worry, Blue Cheesecake. Also interested in hearing your thoughts on Avery, because I think it's mega trash. Me and Joe have actually just had a big long discussion on Avery that led on to a discussion on a lot of other things. But yes, we will be chatting about all of these. We'll let people hop in for a couple of minutes more, and then we'll get into some chatting. I'm just going to leave this on the screen, I guess. Just this Blaziken VMAX, I guess, probably. Just leave that there. Because, look. Actually, where's the Persimmon as well? Let's get them both on the screen. Passimeme. I always forget how big Persimmon is.
Look at the size of him.
I always think it's so small, but it's like, it's proper big. Roasted
He's a unit.
VMAX.
I mean, Sobble is tiny. Let's.
Sobble is
right.
small, yes.
Sobble's the size of his bloody coconut.
Yeah, but Persimmon are like waist height.
They're 2 meters tall, so they're what, like 7 foot?
2 meters is like 6'8", I think. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Makes sense. They are meant to be American footballers, essentially. And this is like the most hench Persimmon I've seen. Normally you see them crouched, so you don't see how jacked they are. But
yeah,
they are.
look at the. Oh yeah, he's packing.
Wouldn't want to bump into him.
No, he'd absolutely clout you. Persimmon is going to be insanely good. You know it. I'll just pop this on the bench and take 2 prizes. Take 4 prizes, sorry. Nutty. Absolutely nutty. Interesting they used V and GX rather than rule box.
For what? What are we talking about?
Persimmons,
right.
Extra damage. Didn't want to make the EXs too weak.
Yeah. That's got to be it.
How you doing, Benji?
Oh God! Every time he starts with that bloody line.
It sounds, Benji. It sounds like you're reenacting the start of a mystery dungeon game. Looking at base hit Zard, that says 5'7", which is about 1.7 meters. Yeah, so 2 meters is going to be like 6'4", 6'5", then I guess. Still obviously huge. That Persimmon is also going to be insane with Zera Aura V. Yep. Alrighty, shall we crack on?
Yeah.
So obviously, in actually not very classic OmniPoke fashion, but I think something that will happen more frequently is we're going to chat about the first impressions of the new cards revealed today.
I mean, we do always do a first impressions.
Yeah, we do, but it's usually not on stream. It's usually a video. This will probably go live on the YouTube just because we need to test whether our YouTube is functioning properly or not. Brackets, it's not, but hopefully we'll be able to upload this anyway. So if you want to go back and hear about our opinions on one of the cards, it will be over on YouTube after the stream or at some point in the next day or two. So yeah, Matchless Fighters is 1/2. Let me turn this music down a touch. Matchless Fighters is 1/2 of our June set, Chilling Reign. The other half comes from Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit, which we'll go over the first couple of cards of our opinions of those today as well, just because they were leaked last night. So yeah, we're getting this in June. So we'll have 3 months or so with these cards pre-rotation. So just for, a bit of context in terms of what we're going to have to be able to pair with these cards. Obviously, as per usual, we don't know the full set list. We don't know what's going to come in the other half of the set. So take all of these opinions with a grain of salt because there could be cards that completely change our perspectives. But this is as up to date as we can be right now in terms of how good we think these cards will be in Standard. So yeah, starting off with this amazing Weedle art.
No, go trainers, go trainers.
Starting off with trainers. But the Weedle art, Joe.
No, you need to give people context.
The context is that Weedle. Okay, fine. Welcoming Lantern. A single strike item. Choose a single strike supporter card from your discard pile and put it into your hand. So it's VS Seeker exclusively for single strike supporters, which is pretty interesting. It's nice seeing some of these interesting effects of very, very broken cards in the past being put in a more limited space so that there is... we were literally just saying before the stream how every deck is built similarly. So it's nice forcing certain archetypes, or only having certain cards accessible to certain archetypes, because it will mean there is more variety in deck building, which is great. The single strike supporters it can pick up are exclusively Bruno and Karen, right?
Yeah.
So Karen we'll get to in a bit more in depth, but is basically 20 damage for each prize card your opponent's active has taken. Bruno is obviously the supporter we've got in battle styles that shuffles in, draws 4 unless you've had a Pokemon knocked out last turn, in which case it draws 7. So 2 fairly niche supporters. Like you're gonna want to be using them on specific turns, but that's kind of fine for a card like this, especially as it's got that single strike tag, because we have the Stadium that lets you just draw 2 in a pinch. Obviously this is also, so this is kind of a pseudo draw card anyway, but also it means that you're not punished for using your supporters early game to draw to stay in the game, because you can just Welcoming Lantern them back into your hand late game and still get value out of them, which is really cool. I like the synergy between all of this like single strike package.
Yeah, I think it seems solid to me. There's a new card that we'll be talking about that wants to always be using a single strike supporter every turn.
Mm-hmm.
So having that always accessible seems very good. And yeah, Bruno's not the best right now. So it's not like the backbone of the deck. I feel like you still probably play some other supporters.
Yeah.
So this could only be like a 1 or 2 of, but it makes the Karen card a lot better because it's very situational.
Yes.
And now you don't have to play a lot of copies of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely a nice thing going for it.
Definitely. So yeah, like I say, I feel like, if I'm honest, the battle style single strike package was already pretty solid, but having these extra couple of cards that we'll talk about today really like fill out that package in terms of having enough cards to discard with Tower of Darkness and then not feeling the drawbacks, because obviously we've got the jar to get back the energy, we've now got the lantern to get back the supporters. It just feels like they're really pushing for consistency with single strike, which is really cool. I like it.
Yep, seems solid.
Next up we have Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn is a rapid strike item card. Put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench. Obviously this caused a lot of discussion when this was first revealed about a month or so ago. It's essentially a reprint of Target Whistle. Target Whistle was an item that had the exact same effect back in, I think it was Phantom Forces. It's not seen major waves, but things like Night March have played it in the past to try and grab a 2-prizer to gust up and win the game, winning prize trades, that kind of thing. So there has been uses for this effect in the past. And you can see the obvious synergy between this and just rapid strike stuff in general. We've got Urshi sniping. We've got another card we'll talk about later on that's a rapid strike card that snipes. You can see the synergy between Echoing Horn and the rapid strike mechanic. But there are, this is actually, this is one of the cards we've discussed a little bit in the past on stream, and this actually seems way scarier for things like control, because this is just grab something that your opponent doesn't want on the board, put it on the board, then Guzma and trap it. Oh, not Guzma, Boss and trap it. And I think we both kind of agreed last time when we discussed this card that that's probably going to be the scarier and more impactful use of it, just because that's just such a strong effect. That means you can't ever discard anything that you don't want to bench, because there's probably always going to be the threat of it just getting horned, bossed and trapped for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was a knee-jerk reaction that I was like, oh no, that's actually really bad for that. People are panicking about ADP, but ADP is already pretty invested in combo and doesn't have much space for this.
No, this feels like similar to a stamp in ADP, and cards like this and stuff. ADP feels like a deck where you've got to, you're just building your deck to go turn 2 GX, and this doesn't achieve turn 2 GX. Same way Stamp doesn't, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is still very good for Rapid Strike Urshi because it's searchable with Octillery. So it's like if you're playing full Rapid, it's a searchable card, which is very intimidating because any one prize Pokemon you're happy with, if it has up below 120, and obviously if it's a Crobat or Dedenne that they tossed, you're really happy to bring that back. So it feels scary for Urshi. It feels scary for Control. Don't think it actually makes it into ADP.
I'd be surprised. I think that was the main knee jerk. It was just people panicking about ADP, which I think
I don't think it goes into Mad Party just because of space, but it could also be dangerous in that deck because you're already playing double Great Catcher, and it feels like you are investing in that quite heavily. So it could be decent for that deck.
Yeah,
it's clearly a solid card for some archetypes, but you really have to have a great engine behind you to supplement it and to make it work, or just have Octillery. So
yeah, there's definitely as well. Like this was like a decent card back when we saw it revealed like a month ago, and we've had a new card revealed today that makes Rapid Strike actually even better. So that just makes the card even better. So yeah, this will. I wasn't trying to play down how good it is in Rapid Strike. I was more trying to play up how good it is in Control, I guess.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, interesting stuff. Two interesting Rapid Strike and Single Strike items. Next up, we have Galerium Breastplate, which is a Pokemon tool. If the Pokemon this card is attached to has Galarian in its name, it takes 30 less damage from your opponent's attacks. I'm almost certain this is not... Like, I can't think of any real Galarian Pokemon even seeing play right now. Is there anything? There's like Galarian Berserker and stuff, but, you know, they're not going to be in the...
Not for tanking.
Front lines anyway. There's a couple of VMAXs. I know we've obviously got Galarian... what do you call it? Galarian... Slowking, Galarian Diamanitan as well. Both of those like are VMAXs, so maybe you're wanting to try and get like double dip on value with Galarian Breastplate, just because you're probably gonna be two-shotting through them anyway. But I'm not impressed with Slowking, and I feel like Diamanitan is all about the telescopic sight life anyway, so it doesn't feel great in either of those.
No targets for the card at the moment.
Yeah. So yeah, but keep it in mind in terms of Galarian Pokemon in the future. Karen's Conviction.
I don't think Obstagoon needs it. Oh, sorry, I was just answering chat.
Yeah.
I don't think Goon needs this. I think they would... Goon's gonna never be solo anymore because it just gets beaten by too many things. So you'd put in like Big Charms before this for sure. Stuff like that if you were needing to.
Yeah, works on Decies. Karen's Conviction is the single strike supporter that we touched on earlier on. During this turn, your single strike Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active for each prize card your opponent has already taken. That's an Iris, but double the amount of damage. And I'm pretty sure with Iris you had to be behind on prizes as well, right?
Yeah.
So you can just play this and do 20 damage times the amount of prizes they've taken, which is obviously absolutely insane. We'll mention, like we said earlier on, there's a new single strike attacker that wants to be using a single strike supporter every turn, and this pushes its damage cap up into like the 300 ranges in certain situations, which is just nuts on a one prize Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, Leon's been in a couple of decks. Now, obviously, Karen can only be put into single strike, so we're talking about like the Noosa Viper, or we're talking about Primeape, potentially Urshi. You could play a VMAX-less Urshi deck now that just has Karen's Conviction, knowing that you can get a +60 or a +80 during the game, and that you'll just be one-punching something quite happily. It feels like this is enabled by that VS Seeker that we saw earlier, the Lantern.
Yeah, definitely. This is
as like a scary 2-of copy card that just bodies something.
Yeah.
Cape is good for Zapdos won't be a deck though, chat. Zapdos will be a card in a deck. You know, you're not going to play straight Zapdos as an archetype. You'll play it as like a counter card, I think. It feels very much like an Aurora Energy attachment card.
Yeah.
So, I don't think you're going to be putting in vests or breastplates or whatever they're called just for Zapdos. Sorry to go back on that, but
It's
chat's
alright.
just
It's
going over it.
That's fair.
Plus, every basic has the option to get plus 50 hit points anyway, so... I mean... That's...
Pretty good. But yeah, Karen... I've just seen someone in chat say as well, Karen, like, pushes Primeape over the edge as well, which is cool. Primeape has felt like an archetype that constantly gets stuck at, like, that 240 damage, sort of 220, 240 sort of damage range. Which is great for Vs, but really bad for VMAXs. But late game, you can actually be one-shotting VMAXs. We've already said in the past, Primeape feels like an archetype where if you can get through the first 3 or 4 turns and like build a board, your board is kind of sustainable. Because you can, as long as you're like Brunoing or whatever, you can probably find the piece that you need since Houndoom does the rest. But now... this doesn't help the early game at all, but it does help the mid game into late game. So whether that will make the deck any better in terms of living long enough to win the game, I don't know. But it will probably win games harder now because it can like easily hit the plus 300 damage range. It can be one-shotting VMAXs, which it was kind of sometimes settling at 2-shotting VMAXs, which was really awkward when you had a 2 energy attack cost. You had to be pumping out Houndooms every turn, whereas now if you can you have 2 or 3 turns to basically find the time to be able to go Karen, KO the VMAX, win the game.
Yeah, it's actually a payoff now to the deck. Before you were making that and hoping that being a 1 prize was enough of a payoff, which it probably isn't, but now Karen actually gives you a payoff.
Yeah.
Which is very good.
But yeah, I like what you, I agree with what you said about the basic HPV as well, though. That just sounds so much less clunky than, or so much more consistent in terms of getting attack after attack after attack than having to go VMAX. Like you lose,
make it play just like 1 VMAX, right?
Yeah. Well, you lose outs to like the or Streamlight. That's the word I'm looking for. You lose outs to like the Fury Belt, but you kind of make up for that by being able to play a Karen's Conviction and just one-shot things instead of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think basic Urshifu VMAX sounds really Urshifu VMAX basic single strike Urshifu V actually sounds like it could be really, really threatening. And like you say, just dropping a VMAX and just doing 270 to end the game or whatever. Because you're still like it's going to be essentially the same engine. It's just you're not going to have all the search for the VMAXs, and you're not going to have the high counter VMAXs, but it's basically going to be the same deck, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could play Toughness Capes and gain some of that bulk back. Obviously, you're not binning the energy, so you don't need the Outrage attack or whatever.
No. Do you need to switch with the attack? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do.
But yeah, Karen.
Anyway, I like just sprouting ideas, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility though. It sounds pretty scary to be honest. Like the single strike Urshifu VMAX is, with laser focus alone, is a bit of a threat.
Exactly.
Like, there's some decks you just can't do anything against. That just can't do anything against that. So yeah, sounds good. Next up we have Clara. Clara is another supporter. Choose up to 2 Pokemon and up to 2 basic energy from your discard pile. Show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. So this is a rod to hand. I'm not overly fussed about this card because we have so much dig that we can usually find the stuff we rod in, as well as other stuff by researching. So I don't think this is great.
I mean, we have Nessa as the most direct comparison to this card.
Yeah, this is obviously a way more
slightly
universal
more restricted.
Nessa.
Yeah, restricted in terms of it's 2 and 2.
Yeah, but but more universal.
But it's universal for what decks it could go into. Pretty certain it's not good enough for a lot of multi-prize decks. It could be reasonable for single prize decks though, because
Yeah.
a lot of the time, all you care about is where's my next stage 1, where's my next basic, and Clara actually makes that happen, which is quite cool.
You don't need to random
yeah.
Bruno into finding a basic, a stage 1 and energy.
Yeah.
You just Clara for basic stage 1 energy.
So again, seems like a big or like a decent push to one prize archetypes.
Yeah.
So I like this card. I feel like it'll be kind of a 2 of. It just feels so like Ordinary Rod is kind of feels bad, even with Level Ball in the one prize decks, because you're, like I said, you need to literally find, you can't miss your basic in your next Pokemon. And it gives you instant access back to Mew against Rapid Strike, which is also very important. So this could be a 1/2 of in one prize archetypes, of which I can't think of many that are going to be super successful, but it's a good card for those decks, and I adore this card for Cube as well.
Yeah, it's a great card for Cube. Avery is the next supporter. Avery draws 3 cards, then your opponent discards their bench Pokemon until they have 3 benched Pokemon left. So obviously Twitter absolutely exploded over this card. I personally think it was an overreaction, because in most situations, people are going to have a Dedenne and a Crobat on board in this format. And that means you're actively taking away your easy prizes. Which is awful. Now, obviously, there will be situations where they have a board full of stuff they want to keep, but that's going to be way rarer, especially in a format with Crobat, Dedenne, Eldegoss. Even stuff like Jirachi is arguably a bit of a fine, okay, I'll get rid of it. Like, you know, they don't. This is never going to be. This is never going to be getting rid of, you know, their main attacker or whatever. So I think the reaction on Twitter was an overreaction, and I think it's a scary effect, but it would only, like, people were comparing it to Parallel, and it's so different because Parallel, you could N and Parallel in the same turn, you'd actually, like, you'd just cripple someone's board, whereas this is draw 3. You need to, like, well, even then you need to stamp, and they would need to not draw Pokemon because they can still just draw Pokemon out of it. Whereas with N Parallel, back in the days of N Parallel, was just like board locking. People just lost because of it. So yeah, I don't think this is good enough in a format where we have Boss, Marnie, and Research as a draw supporter. I don't think it's a good Eternatus tech because we have Galarian Zapdos, which just seems like it's going to kill Eternatus anyway. So I'm not seeing the hype behind this card personally. I can see why the effect discards their bench down until 3 is scary, but on a supporter when you're not Marning or bossing, I think the effect becomes way dulled down.
Yeah, it's one of these restrictive cards that looks pretty scary, but it is ultimately... Someone even said in chat, it's how with a downside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in many situations it can be. And it's been a long while since we were in big setup eras. Parallel was so good in Zoro format because it meant your opponent had less Zoros in play, and it meant they couldn't make Decidueye or any other stage 2 work.
Yeah.
Because that format had so much draw that everyone actually used all 5 or all 6 of their Pokemon slots to be like N-proofing or like Rockruffs that could become Gust for game, that sort of stuff. So Parallel was like mandatory, and like you said, you can weave in Guzma or N at the same time and be doing everything. Whereas this stops you doing all the good things that you want to do on your turn. So pretty glamorous, to be fair. And we're not in a setup format, and I don't see a reason why we'd be moving into one with the cards that we're looking at today.
No, things are just getting faster.
It just, yeah.
Would you like this more?
I understand. I get the Zapdos argument. The only hint of hope this has is if you're not playing compatible energies for Zapdos and you still need to beat Eternatus somehow, and Eternatus is still somehow in the meta.
Yeah.
which I think is already quite questionable.
It's already got to deal with Single Strike and Rapid Strike, which it probably can still survive as like a tier 2, tier 3 archetype, just dodging and weaving. Probably like tier 2, like mid-tier 2 archetype, just dodging and weaving. But then when Zapdos comes out as a splashable answer for like another handful of archetypes, like all of a sudden you're dodging and weaving a whole lot more archetypes.
Yeah. The thing that gets annoying for a Turner is that it actually wants to keep the tag teams in the format, and the Single and Rapid Strike cards push tag teams out of the format a bit. So it actually, even the matchups that aren't the fighting decks
get
probably
lesser and lesser.
decks that you don't want to face. Yeah. So.
Would you like this more if you could discard your bench or your opponents? You could they could never print this card, discarding your bench. We have Giovanni's Exile, which has only just started seeing play. And that would be
that card is so restrictive as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have damage on.
Exactly. So they couldn't ever print this saying you or your opponent's bench, just because they can't ever. You can't when stuff has 300 plus HP, you can't ever let people get rid of it easily, because they just heal 600 damage and they've just wasted like 4 turns of the game. So
Cheryl is the scariest
closest
version of that we'll get. And it's, again, restrictive to the amount of decks that could synergize with it.
Yeah. So yeah, Avery, I'm looking forward to its full art, but other than that...
Great hat.
Great hat. Brawly is a Rapid Strike supporter. Search your deck for up to 3 Rapid Strike basics and put them onto your bench. So it's basically Bridget for Rapid Strikes. I think this seems really quite good, to be honest. I think it's with Quick Ball in the format, it's probably nowhere near as effective as it could be, and it feels like it's still a Lele-esque supporter. But I could see it seeing some levels of like minor play here and there, just because getting out like 2 Blazerkins and an Urshifu or 2 Urshifus and a Blazerkin just sounds great, to be honest. That just sounds great.
Or pop a Remoraid on the side as well. That's kind of good.
The biggest downside to this card is just the fact that we have no search for it. Like, the best search for it is Dedenne and or research, which means you're having to research, so you have to use this a turn later. So that's the only thing that will hold this card back, I think. But that might be a big enough thing to hold it back to the point where it sees no play.
Yeah, I think it sees no play. It's a really good effect, but it just sees no play because it's only a good effect on turn 1.
It's a shame.
So, going second. And that's massively restricted. All of these find Pokemon supporters basically do nothing, but like since the supporter rule change. Like Elm and Oak and stuff, they were all pretty well played before. And they've just been slaughtered by this.
You can auxiliary search it, but you don't need to once you've got you don't use it once you've got auxiliary. Exactly. If you've got auxiliary out, you're probably doing good. Do you really think Blaziken will see play? We'll talk about Blaziken in a bit, but I think we both think Blaziken is
Pog.
Bonkers. Good. So yeah, really cool effect, but probably hand in hand with the supporter rule change and the fact that we have no search on turn 1 for a supporter like this. Unfortunately, this probably won't see play, which is a shame. And finally, the stadium, Dynatree Hill. Pokemon in play can't be healed. Worth noting, they can recover from special conditions, they've noted here, but you can't heal the damage. If Cheryl ever becomes a mainstay, like, we have an answer now, but this seems, I think, pretty niche overall. There's so many good stadiums. Well, there's not so many good stadiums, but like Swell is just such a good stadium. Swell just like counters every single stadium so well. You basically can't play any stadium other than Swell unless you absolutely have to until Swell rotates. So if this is ever played as a Cheryl counter, the Cheryl decks just play double Swell and it's never a Cheryl counter again. So this is like a Chaotic Swell rotating waiting room card. And even then, I think it's a very, very niche effect. Because I think we'll have Malolana will rotate, and I can't think of much else that heals. So I think I'll have exactly Cheryl. So unless the format turns into like Mega Cheryl format,
Even then, they can just bounce the stadium, even if it's not a swell. They
Yeah,
can just
yeah,
go, well,
of
stadium Cheryl, I guess.
So-
Yeah, it's really bad.
Unfortunately, yeah, this isn't going to be it's countered by Swell right now, but that's not the reason it's not going to see play when Swell's not here, I guess, is the best way of putting it. So yeah, that's
It's passive.
Trainers. Yeah,
it only helps
does nothing.
Probably a couple of matchups.
Yeah.
Maximum a couple. So yeah.
Honchkrow, Dynatree, new meta. It's probably decent if you can lock it in Honchkrow, but don't you just want to lock Silent Lab in play anyway? So yeah, that's the trainers. Hopefully you've got a bit more context, because typically the trainers will be what we talk about most in terms of the Pokemon. Onto the Pokemon though, and we're obviously starting with this amazing Weedle art. Look at him doing some pull-ups whilst his mate Heracross is down there doing some sit-ups. I think he's either that or he's just having a kip. He's just laying down. I'm not really sure what he's up to.
I think he's just putting less effort in than Weedle.
Probably getting the same result.
He's like the trainer, I think, and he's like, yeah, motivating Weedle.
Weedle making a YouTube channel about fitness. So yeah, the Beedrill line is all single strike. So think about the single strike cards as we're chatting about these. The Beedrill has a pretty interesting effect. Persistent Sting for 1 grass. If your opponent's active has any special energy attached to it, it's now knocked out. We've seen this kind of effect on Beedrills about 4 or 5 times now. Just a different condition if the defending Pokemon has whatever that it's knocked out. And I don't think it's ever been good. Remind me if any of them have ever been good.
No.
And this is like, we have a lot of cool special energy right now, but this is just the same. This is a stage 2 that's probably like trading 1 for 3 maybe once, but then they just stop playing their special energy and you're capped at doing 110 for 1. 110 for 1 is great, but on a stage 2 it's awful because you have to set up a stage 2 every turn, and the Weedle and Kakuna don't even have the like the busted abilities they usually get for evolving immediately. So this is an old school stage 2 where you have to evolve, which sucks.
Yeah. So there's Mustard cheating and there's potential Rowegg cheating for this card, but even then, I don't think you ever commit 3 spaces for Rowegg as like that. Oh, whoops! They attached an energy turn 1 that now means I can kill a 3-prizer. It's kind of wacky to play a 1/1/1 line just for that purpose, and Mustard is really bad, especially in single strike. So I don't think it's because you'd also have to play grass energies. Unfortunately, this isn't compatible with just regular single strike energies, so it's more than just one of in the deck as a tech always. So
it's weird that they made the single strike energies not rainbow energies, but then didn't limit the Pokemon to the types that they are wanting to
like,
push.
why do we have grass ones when they were clearly pushing fighting and dark ones? Yeah, it's weird.
But then when we get to Blaziken, you can see that its attack cost is like double colorless, so Rapid Strike works on it, and it's just so backwards to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Beedrill, unfortunately, cool card, but not going to see any play. Heracross has an attack that does 200 for 2 if you flip 2 coins. It does base 40 plus 160 if you flip heads on 2. But again, it's got that grass energy cost, so it's not just being able to Houndoom. But you can, I guess, attach and Houndoom with this. And you're doing maybe 220, but obviously we have way better cards than this for what it is. Again, fantastic art though. Look at that art.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to comment on for that card.
Petal is bulk, Lilligant, 70. Heads flip.
Yeah. Bulk.
Yep, okay, bulk. Here we go. Blaziken V. The Blaziken V is actually very, very simple. 210 HP, Rapid Strike V Pokemon. 2 for 50 and 4 for 210. 4 for 210 is actually a decent kind of payoff, or it's fairly good value. 4 for 210 isn't too bad. Discard 2 energy means you can welder and then attach a Rapid Strike energy. So you can actually do 210 on the first turn going second, which is quite a lot of pressure to be honest. And then you can just bin the Rapid Strike energy. rather than having to actually discard 2 energy, which is great because you can get it back. You can get the Rapid Strike energy back with Blaziken VMAX later on, which is cool. But yeah, it's nothing flashy, it's nothing special, but it's like decent tempo, and it can actually be an attacker and be set up in 1 turn, which is good to know. So yeah, at least worth noting the second attack for sure. Blaziken VMAX.
Yeah.
320 HP, obviously Rapid Strike as well. For 1 Fire Energy, Clutch does 60 damage and your opponent can't retreat during your next turn. Again, worth noting, but you may not be actually playing that many Fire Energy if you're going all in on Max Blaze. That was a cheer. Where was that? Thanks to the cheer only here for the pointy boys. Appreciate it. We have so many switching options in format right now. Clutch is probably rarely going to be actually stopping anyone from retreating. So 1 for 60 is nice, but the main attack that's worth talking about is Max Blaze. For 2 colorless energy, you do 130 and attach an energy card from your discard pile to 2 of your benched Rapid Strike Pokemon. So anyone that remembers Mega Manectric from Phantom Forces back in the day, that did 210 and attached 2 basic energy to... not 210, that did 110 and attached 2 basic energy to 2 of your bench Pokemon. So it's essentially the same attack, but you're doing 20 more damage. You're able to do it for a single energy attachment in a Rapid Strike energy, and you can attach Rapid Strike energy because it doesn't specify basic energy cards. So it's basically Mega Manectric on steroids. It's also got great typing because it one-shots Zacians whilst setting up as well, which is really nice. It's not the same type as Urshifu, so it doesn't get caught in the crossfire of just being weak to Psychic as well, so you have just naturally more defense against random Psychic techs. Maybe it might even get to the point where you have less of a reliance on things like Jirachi GX because you're not just all in on one thing now, which is cool. But yeah, this card is, I think, insane. I think this setting up, you being able to Max Blaze 2 Rapid Strike energy onto 2 of your Pokemon isn't actually as much of a pipe dream as it sounds. But even if you're just getting basic energy, that's nuts because that means Urshifus are just 1 Rapid Strike energy away from being able to do the 120 snipe. And because you've attached 2 energy to 2 Urshifus, you can go 120. You can do 130 with this into 120, 120, into 120, 120, and I think there's a lot of different ways you take 6 prizes with that amount of damage across 3 turns.
Yeah, there's a ton of ways. I think this could just be a quad deck as well. You can literally just quad Blaziken this, where you take the hit, you pay retreat, you Cheryl, you reattach with your second Blaziken, and you just dance and say, oh, you can't hit 320, whoops. And just be like whittling people down slowly. I think people are grossly underrating this card because 130 is not a big hit.
I think this card is...
bust. It's really solid in Urshi if you want to just play like a 2-2 line as recovery, and so that you don't just lose to like boss plays, you can set up 2 Urshis. And yeah, firefighting typing in a deck right now seems really good, and it can also synergize with the Zeraora that we've just had revealed as well recently. So really, really good card. I think very good, and yeah, it's kind of wacky that I don't know how people can look at this and say it's bad. There's just so much synergy for the card, to be honest. I can't see it failing completely. Now, it could just be worse than Victini, but it'll kind of be a different card for sure. So...
Yeah, I think they're almost incomparable because one is... Oh, thanks for the gift sub as well. I think they're almost incomparable just because Victini is so self-sufficient, whereas Blaziken can be self-sufficient, but also it can set up stuff so well. Like, I can see how people would compare them and be like, well, this does 90 damage less. Why would I do 90 damage less? But the fact that this probably isn't getting knocked out, and like you say, means it can just slink to the bench and pave way for Urshifu, well, another one of these for a start, or like you say, just Urshifu VMAX to come in and just do 120. You can heal the damage off. You can like we know how strong of an attacker Urshifu VMAX is itself. If it's ignored, it's probably just going to Gale Thrust. It's probably going to be able to switch and Gale Thrust you. Like, setting up an Urshifu VMAX leaves 2 massive threats on the board, and all three of the different attacks that you have accessible to you, the sniping, the Galissapod style attack, and then just this setup attack, all of them are so good, like tempo based attacks. Like this deck, well, Rapid Strike just feels like such a good tempo deck anyway, but this is just, again, even more tempo. Just, it's board advantage as well as damage for very, very little effort on your part.
Yeah, I think the only thing to say is that you are sacrificing some tempo by playing this. So you probably would need to play a healing package to make this work, but I think that's fine. And you just say, Cheryl, that's what it do, and get them with that. Because there are going to be a ton of variants that makes Rapid look good. But I like that this is going to hammer-proof you as well if it comes to that. So
yeah, I mean,
that's helpful.
This, this. Oh, I think this card is nuts. I'm so excited about playing some Blaziken. It feels everyone's kind. I feel like everyone's kind of adjusted to the fact we're never going to get back to the olden days of setup decks, but this feels very close to a Mega Man-etric, which is great.
Certainly a spiritual reprint. There's no doubt about that.
Which is great. So yeah, we're big fans of Blaziken. Volcarona, pretty much bulk, 170 for 3.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Tentacruel's bulk.
Tentacruel is also bulk.
Delibird's bulk.
Delibird is bulk.
Sharpedo's bulk.
Look at the art though. Hello, stop.
Yes. Wait.
Is Sander going to join us for the slurp of discussion? Where are you at? Are you on the Sobble line?
Yeah.
So the only thing worth noting before the Inteleon is just that Sobble has continuous call, which is brawly as an attack, so you can at least get more Sobbles out, which is cool.
Yep.
But yeah, Inteleon is another Rapid Strike Pokemon, 150 HP stage 2 with the Quick Shooter ability. Once during your turn, you may place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is the exact same ability as Decidueye GX. Obviously, Decidueye was very, very good at the time. This, I don't think, will be as good, just because HPs have gone up, the format has got faster, and this isn't particularly, like, Desi was tanky back in its format, whereas this isn't tanky enough to be a self-sufficient deck, so you need a partner for it, which is also going to hurt your consistency. I don't want to completely write it off, though, because that, like we've seen with Orbeetle, I didn't write Orbeetle off, but I wasn't overly impressed with Orbeetle just spreading one counter per turn. But if you get 2 or 3 Orbeetles, and whilst that goes everywhere, it kind of doesn't. Orbeetle doesn't need to go everywhere because you can just target your damage with this. So I think I undersold Orbeetle, and for that reason I don't want to completely sell this down the river. But I can't see a partner for it yet.
Yeah, it feels like you want to have an efficient sniper. I mean, let's just say that Rapid Strike Urshifu is a good partner for any deck almost. So,
yeah.
So that's maybe an avenue where you play a setup heavy thing. What I like is it's only a 1 prize. So yes, it's squishy, but it's hurting your opponent's prize map a lot if they actually want to deal with it. So I feel like it just sits in play quite a lot, which is nice.
I do think it is ignored.
Yeah, you also have Shady Dealings Drizzile, which is a really nice card. So it can make it easier for you to swarm. So you can like Drizzile Shady Deal for the candy that then allows you to get your Inteleon into play, and then you can slow evolve. Like if you're slow evolving and you're already wanting to play level ball because Sobble and the Drizzile means that you can play Thick Line if you really want to. I don't know if it will be, like you said, an Orbeetle style deck. Maybe you could just play Snorlax Inteleon with dolls and stuff and try and just buy turns and maybe build 1 or 2 attacks in. It's probably too slow for that, I want to say, but I don't know. You can buy a lot of turns of just Munchlax and all that sort of jazz. So maybe it could just be a no energy control deck that takes 6 prizes. Like it could be that. So
Yeah.
So that's pretty spicy. But yeah, I like his ability. It's hard to see where it lives because it's been so long where we've actually been able to commit like 16 spaces to cards like this.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of value that you can generate from it.
Definitely.
We haven't seen like even Rustization. It's questionable whether or not Berserker is the right damage mod for you. Now, obviously, Berserker is way more limited than this, but effectively, that 20 damage on a stage 1 that has a basic that searches it out is still questionably not played, even in an aggroization. So, like, it's so much work to actually commit to this card, but I don't know. Someone's going to make it work because stacking this ability is pretty strong.
Yeah, it feels like well, we know from confirmation that one of the 2 Calyrex cards is going to be water, so it feels like it feels like this card is just waiting for a partner, really. If it never gets one, it never sees play. If it does get one, then maybe it is good enough. Even in a format where stuff has gone, HP has gone up, I think because it's targeted snipe, targeted damage, it kind of doesn't matter because prizes have also gone up with it. So yeah. The first Rapid Strike Urshi that's not a VMAX is also... yeah, I mean, it could be a partner / Rapid Bullet. There's 30 for each of your Rapid Strike Pokemon in play. Obviously...
That's what they're trying to push, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think this is the out of the box.
This is the one prize,
Yeah, this is the out of the box archetype. I don't think your damage output is going to be good enough, and I don't think your deck is going to be consistent enough. But it could be a deck where you can get away with playing like 4 Rapids for the early game, whilst you slow attach to the last couple of Urshis to like slow attach 4 or 5 Waters.
Maybe you actually just try and play like Whirlpool Scroll attackers instead, something like that, where you just use your attack to do 30 damage across the board as your board spread.
You just wanted to kill Dedennes and Crowbats and stuff.
I don't know, really. I don't know.
I still feel like Crowbats and Dedennes are too out of your range before you've lost the game.
I don't think you even go for those though. So maybe direct damage to the face is better, and you just use the pings to make this mediocre damage not mediocre.
Yeah,
I think that's better.
I haven't done the napkin maths on how much damage this can do with X amount of stuff in play. It wouldn't take long, but I'm not going to do it now.
I'd expect it to be around 120 to 150.
I think 160 seems doable because that's 5 Rapid Strike Pokemon, 3 of them being Inteleons. So like turn 3, turn 4, if you've been able to get a good setup, 160 for 2, but you're not wasting damage, but also you're probably not wasting much damage anyway because 160 for 2 is only is going to be 320, which is kind of the number you want to be hitting anyway. So you're not really wasting damage. So at that point, you've got a very, very big setup to just 2-shot a VMAX, and they're going to be doing 140 every turn to you because VMAXs just do.
Yeah.
So feels kind of weak, but
I think see. I don't know. Maybe this is like a 2/2 of in a doll-based list that just gives you extra burst potential.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, not much more to say about Rapid Strike.
Option as well.
Yes. Not much more to say about Rapid Strike. Obviously, like we said, it's the out-of-the-box archetype, or one of the out-of-the-box archetypes. There's obvious synergy between them, but it's probably not going to be...
Could be our theme deck mascot as well.
Yeah.
It feels like a theme deck mascot.
Yeah, Single Strike and Rapid Strike. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Chinchou is bulk. I didn't see how much damage this did though because I didn't write it in. 40, cool. Bulk. Thunderous.
Yeah, there are no more theme decks. Good point, your best friend. Whoops.
Oh, you're right.
They've missed an opportunity there.
No. Look at this Drakazol art first and foremost.
No.
Look at him.
No.
Rumblebeak. Drakazol V is obviously a Lightning V Pokemon. For 1 lightning energy, you've got Rumblebeak for 30, and during your opponent's next turn, your opponent can attach energy. We have so many switching effects. These effects have never really taken a big hold on the meta. Mountain Swing, doing 180 and discard the top 3 from your deck. Again, not really worth the payoff. 180 for 3 is decent in terms of like value per energy, damage per energy, but we have way better attackers in format right now. The VMAX has Trap Spark for 1 energy, which does 60 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, put 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This is, I think, identical to Galerion's Stunfisk V's attack, which has seen no play.
Oh, you're joking.
And that's a basic. So, unfortunately, I don't think this is going to see any play. I don't think it's worth the trade-off of playing an evolved Pokemon just to have 1 less attachment, because if you have to wait 2 turns to get an attachment, you can attach 2 energy anyway. Max Impact doing 200 is just not good enough. So yeah, this is one of the dud VMAXs of the set, unfortunately. But look at how great he looks. Don't care what Joe says. He's so happy.
Worst pull.
Worst pull. Probably still is the worst pull, though. Yeah, you're right. Galerion Articuno V. So we're getting the Galarian Bird Trio in V form. Psychic Construct is the ability. Once during a turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 1 card. So it's backwards trade. And when you flip the numbers around on trade, the card gets a lot worse. Hideously worse, considering we have things like Dedenne and Crobat in format, and even Kricketune. Like, I think this is almost always never going to be the best draw option. We have Oricorio as well. We have so many better passive draw options than this. This is like unrestricted in terms of when you can use it, but also it's so resource intensive for 1 card. It's pretty sad. But obviously they couldn't swap these numbers over, because then the whole game would crash and burn.
It's the mustard enabler that we don't want or need.
Yes, this probably is a buff to mustard decks. That I will say. That I will say.
But yeah, it seems pretty bad to me. You have to be very invested into discard to want to play this Pokemon down.
Yeah. And then the attack is just 110 of Confusion, obviously not
attack.
Great.
Yeah.
Synchro Woofer does 110 for 1 energy, but you have to have the same amount of cards in hand. That's usually pretty hard to do. That's a great art, though. Look at that art.
Oh, I've moved on to Slurpuff.
Oh, look at the Woofer.
Yes.
Okay, Slurpuff. Follow the smell for 2 colorless energy. Flip 3 coins. For each head, choose a card from your discard pile, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. So this is a spiritual successor for Heatmore, back from the Raichu Heatmore days. Obviously this is stage 1 rather than a basic, but it gets 1 more card. I'm pretty sure Heatmore only got 2 cards, right? This gets 3. Well, this flips 3 coins, I should say. Obviously this is comparable to Excadrill, because Excadrill gets 4 cards but shuffles them in rather than getting them back to hand. This flips into hand. I think this actually has potential. We have a couple of interesting things like Twin Energy and Glimwood Tangle to actually make this attack not terrible. Excadrill control I don't think is doing great right now. We're more looking at kind of Munchlax, Dolstall archetypes more than Excadrill hand control style archetypes, and this feels like way more of a hand control card than a Munchlax style card, just because this gives up prizes whereas Dolls don't, and because of that it might not be good enough. But I think this is definitely, there's definitely argument to say this is better than Excadrill. The only difficult side of that is just because Marnie exists. And because Excadrill doesn't shuffle the cards to the bottom, it shuffles them in. You can actually hit your cards off of the Marnie rather than probably never hitting them off of the Marnie just because they're all at the bottom. So this is strictly working against Marnie, probably, and maybe that's enough of a reason for it to not be good enough. But like I say, Excadrill control doesn't see much play anyway, so maybe that alone is a reason for it not to be good enough. But I think they're definitely comparable, and there's definitely reasons to play this one over Excadrill.
Yeah, so the upside of instant access is that you're able to defend against people much more proactively. So like, as soon as your first Slurpuff is in play, you're getting back whatever Crushing Hammers you've already previously played, and they're accessible for the next turn, as long as you don't get Marnied. So like, whereas Excadrill is far superior when you're in the hand lock, right? Because you're guaranteeing 4 cards. This is like, I'm just hoping that I cheese more decks with hammers earlier.
Yeah.
Because like, even when I played Excadrill, you play a lot of like Hapu, Bill's Analysis, Jirachi. All of this stuff is basically to proactively find hammers quicker, so that you can begin to hurt them before they start to take too many prize cards. So the Slurpuff is like, okay, I'm flipping coins to get back more coin flips, which doesn't feel good, but it gives you much faster ways at dealing with the opponent's board. You can instantly access back like your next Cheer Yellhorn plus your next Crushing Hammer, and you just do that loads in the opening stages, and then hope that the early denial that you gained offsets how much weaker this is in the late game. And you said Glimwood Tangle is like a good thing, but a lot of control decks need to Galamine Trap anyway. That's a lot of their win condition. So you may just have to play a split, and then later on in the game just be like, I'm hoping I get 2 more often than 1.
Yeah. Well, I guess the hope is if you're in a position where you've Galamine something, you probably need the flips less. So it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's in a really weird spot where the card in a vacuum seems very powerful, but it's just the state of control right now is in such a different place. But yeah, I can see.
I mean, I would personally still be playing Drill over this. I think, just like we said, because Marnie equals a card that people play.
But you know Sander's going to make it work, so
yes.
Buy them now just before Sander spikes them at the next Players' Cup or whatever. Hatterene has an ability which is Sonata, I want to say. I've never heard of that word before.
Sonata.
This gets KO'd by Beedrill if it runs Twin. Very true. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon within your bench, then have your opponent switch their active Pokemon on their bench. So it's basically an escape rope. Whilst we have Boss, Escape Rope is a much worse card on an ability on a stage 2. Escape Rope is a good card, but this isn't an escape rope. This is, you have to get a stage 2 out first. Then you have an escape rope every turn, but at that point, switching and bossing is probably just as viable because you've spent so much time. Like, the amount of resources you've put into building up stage 2, you might as well just be putting resources into finding switches and bosses anyway. So yeah, and you'd get to pick which Pokemon you want with that. So yeah, we've seen this ability in the past, and I don't think it's ever been. It might have been great. I know there's a Metagross with it, and I know there's an earlier like a Gen 3 Pokemon with it as well. I don't know whether they ever saw play, but I'm pretty sure since I've been playing.
Come on, it's a stage 2. They know. They know this is Trank. Come on.
Trank.
A Sonata is a instrumental solo, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Is this Pokemon particularly musical?
I didn't think so, but I guess it is. I had no idea. I can't remember what its cry was like in the games. Was it rhythmic?
I guess. I
thought this was meant to be the Queen Pokemon.
Queen. I genuinely thought it was a hat stand.
Like Hatterene Queen. You know how they did the starters were meant to all be British like icons or whatever, and then this was meant to be the Queen's image, and then we had like the teapot and all that other stuff. Yeah, but I didn't know it was meant to be.
It's a witch. Yeah, it's definitely a witch. But witches aren't musical, are they? I don't know. It's a witch that beats up sad people.
I also didn't know that that's how it's sort of its tail, arm, hat thing. I didn't know that's like how it looked.
I think it's a hand.
A hand that sprouts out of its head. Yeah. Very strange.
Because I think it has hands underneath this big coat as well. Anyway, we've talked about this card for too long. Rapid Strike Dugtrio. Look at this Diglett. Have you seen the Diglett in the back? I assume you've seen the Diglett in the back.
Oh yeah.
Eyes wide.
You can't believe it.
Rapid Strike Dugtrio. Triple head does 60 and you flip 3 coins. It does 60 times the number of heads, and if you flip all 3, Heads, you're immune. Obviously, that's hilarious, but pretty bad attack in general. But again, the artwork is Pog. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why there's so many.
I don't know if they're like...
They spirits?
It's the speed of them. I think it's like after images.
Okay.
Because they're digging so rapidly.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I feel like that's what it's meant to be.
I'll go with that
one. It's very strange if it's like the ghosts of their friends like joining in. Like what?
Maybe it's all of these little Digletts in the background evolved into Doug Trios. Just
who knows?
I don't know. Anyway, again,
I think we're coming to my favorite artwork of this set. Galerion Surfetched.
Galerion Surfetched. So the Farfetch'd is obviously Bog. Surfetch'd.
Oh, sorry, I like the Farfetch'd artwork. That's the artwork.
Where he's stroking his league.
Yeah. Just great artwork, that is.
It's nice.
Dust off the leak after a good bout.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. Galerion Surfetch'd is absolute trash, unfortunately.
Ooh, you've said that, have you?
But again, another great art. Really nice art on the Surfetch'd as well, I think.
Yeah. Jousting.
Galerion Zapdos V, probably the best of the Galarian birds. Fighting Instinct is its ability. For each Pokemon V your opponent has in play, this Pokemon's attacks cost colourless less. And then its attack for fighting and 3 colourless energy does 170, and before doing damage, discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. This is a good attacker outside of being just an Eternatus counter, I think. But this is obviously just the biggest Eternatus counter in the world. It's actually embarrassing how much of an Eternatus counter this is. I've always disagreed that they got rid of Belobra and Bryson Man because of Eternatus, but if they were ever trying to counter Eternatus, this is how they did it. Because this is just, like, silly. It one-shots an Eternatus VMAX from nothing. It discards their special energy. It discards their weak guard if they're trying to play weak guard. You know, it's just absurd. Outside of the obvious, though, I actually don't think this is a terrible attacker in general. I don't think it's going to be making waves in any way other than a tech card, but I don't think it's only going to be useful in the Eternatus matchup, because this probably will be like 1, sometimes 2, but genuinely 1 for 170, not is not out of the realms of possibility in other matchups as well, which is just great tempo.
Yeah, I think any fighting deck will probably be playing 1, because like you said, 1 for 170 is just good everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Situational energy removal is good in a lot of situations. Well, I just said situational, but yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of times where it's good in the format right now. And it could, again, bring about some Aurora-based archetypes and certainly give like the Dragapulse a reason to play Aurora energies and stuff like that and survive in this world. So, yeah, I think it's very reasonable for people to have 3 V Pokemon in play, even in today's format. So... as we go more and more in VMAX realms, this will certainly be attacking for 1 in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Which is just very, very good. And just the fact that any fighting deck can be threatening this makes your opponent play super differently, which is good for you. You can make them brick and not make them push for an extra like 4 cards in certain spots because they get punished if they do. So that's also a hidden buff to fighting decks just because you're playing fighting energy and therefore you could Zapdos them in the face. So,
yep, very, very good card.
Back to bulk, I guess.
Look at that Rog and Roller. Yeah, bulk.
What location is that Rog and Roller?
What? Sorry.
What location is it? Is it an in-game location?
That's going to
be trying to be an in-game location.
That's going to be one of the caves on the Isle of Armor, where you go into it and you come out on the other side on like a beach. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, great knowledge.
Great art, to be honest. It looks freezing. Do you think is it just me or does he look absolutely freezing?
It's a rainy day, so I think he's panicking that it's getting a bit wet and he's gonna have to dip into the cave. Yeah.
Let's see. Galerion Runerigus has Spiteful Lithograph as the ability. If this Pokemon has is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from from an opponent's VMAX. Put damage counters on the attacking Pokemon equal to the damage done to this Pokemon. Pretty interesting ability, to be honest. It's not like Zamazenta being immune to VMAXs, but there's a couple of VMAXs that do like 180, 190, 220, 200 up to 220 or whatever. And if you were to put this up, they'd just be taking a boatload on their end and only taking one prize for you to be able to come in with another fighting, well, basically, because you don't need to even be attacking with this, any attacker, and probably just finish them off. So it's a really interesting ability. I don't see it being particularly useful, unfortunately, just because it's a pretty bog stage 1 outside of that, and there's other cards other than VMAXs in the format. The best VMAX will be Urshifu VMAX, which snipes, and the second best attacker in the game will probably still be Zacian V, which isn't a VMAX. But the ability is definitely really, really interesting. And it'll be interesting to see whether there are any partners for this guy.
I think it just competes really poorly against Altaria. I think just saying no is typically better. And Altaria hits more than just VMAXs, so pretty stiff competition.
Yeah. A pack of alpacas is saying some strong words in the chat there. There's nothing that good in this set. How about this Persimmon right here? I think this Persimmon has, is insane. Throwing Coach is its ability. All of your Rapid Strike Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's benched Pokemon V and GX. You can't use more than one Throwing Coach ability at a time. This pushes Urshifu VMAX into doing 150 to a benched Pokemon. Which means with a Telescope, it's 180, which means you're one-shotting both Dedennes and Crobats. So you're taking 4 prizes, and all you have to do is bench this. And just, like, you can bench it at any point in the game. If they're ever gusting this, then they're not killing your Urshifu, and that's getting way more value. Yeah, this card is bonkers for Urshifu. Absolutely bonkers.
150 into 180 is very good for VMAXs as well. That's one sort of question mark it has right now about going into some VMAX matchups, is that its output is just too low. So now you can hit something like Fione, push it back, finish it with a snipe instead, that way around, which is cool. Yeah. And obviously Crobats and Dedennes are going to be on the board more, but it also hits Kricketune now. It also hits Eldegoss now. So you just have so many more targets if we're doubling up on it.
Yeah, Oricorio as well. Jirachi GX. It hits so many good things.
Oh, chat just said all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it is a risk because you're putting a 1-prize Pokemon into play, which can help opponents prize map against you if you're in mirror situations. But it will almost certainly be a one-of. And this is, even if this could just be instead of Telescopic. I feel like they're very good when they go together because you just put so much extra damage into play that it's nuts. But this just being searchable puts it above the scope probably immediately. So.
This is searchable, and like you say, it can't get scrapped off. It can't get any random. This is just once it's on the board. This is on the board until they unless they take a prize, unless they knock it out, of course, obviously. But this feels like a more consistent Telescopic sight. I still feel like the Telescopic sight combo is great, but I think I'd probably always play. I'm not playing Telescopic sight in any of my Rapid Strike builds at the moment, but I think I'd probably still put this in first. But I think this actually
so much nicer than Telescopic.
Yeah, I think this makes me want to put Telescopic sight in more though, which is just great. This Urshifu VMAX is already a very, very scary Pokemon for things basically every setup Pokemon we have in format right now. And this just makes it even scarier. And it's a random common that requires no setup.
Let's just look at the theme of this card as well. He's literally teaching a Sobble how to throw a coconut. What more do you want?
How do you think the Sobble turned into this Inteleon right here? Do you think any regular Sobble would be able to do this? No, only one trained by a Persimmon.
Yeah, that's what made them quick. That's why he's training on a rock. Yeah. Genius. Absolute genius.
Blaziken box looking ultra spicy. Yeah, Blaziken box, why not? 2/2 Urshi, a Passimian, couple of Zera Auras, all of a sudden nothing is safe.
Ta-da! Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I think like we haven't said much about this card, but it's just that good. Nothing, not much needs to be said. It's just
it's like a Diancie Prism kind of thing where people read it. It's more damage. More damage is typically good. The breakpoints that we're getting to targets a lot of things.
Yeah,
Chat mentioned Whirlpool Scroll as well. This could push Whirlpool Scroll to do 60 around the world, which is kind of a thing. But I still feel the scroll's quite bad. But yeah.
More Wild GX and Echoing Horns. Yeah, it feels like it can also turn... I mean, we've already got a video out there with like 16 different Urshifu archetypes, but it feels like this can even create an Urshifu deck that is basically just like hyper aggressive on griefing one Dedenne, then horning it back and griefing it again, and just like not just ignoring their main attacker and just killing support Pokemon. It feels like you can actually do that as well now. I don't know how good that would be, but this and Telescopic Sight and the horn means that you can definitely do, like, that's definitely a build now.
Seems reasonable, yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're against, just if they ever play or discard a Dedenne, a Crobat, an Eldegoss, any support Pokemon, you just absolutely like butcher it.
Okay, there's our Kubfu.
Kubfu's pretty bulk, great art though, look at him. Moltres is the Find of the Galerian Birds. Bolstered Wings lets you attach a dark energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon, but you can only use one Bolstered Wings a turn. Can't see any real applications for this in Standard. If Eternatus is disappearing, I'm pretty sure Weavile GX will disappear with it, and that's the only good partner. In Expanded, this is great for Turbo Dark style decks. It's basically a better Darkrai GX. But other than that, I can't think of any uses in Standard right now. Definitely feels like it could be broken at some point. One to think about.
We've said how dead Eternatus is, but this could be a hammer proofer if you wanted to play E-switches. or
the Weavile.
Weavile before it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's backed against the wall a little bit, so Moltres might be a little bit too late for now.
Yeah, it's one of those cards where it's one of those cards with a really, really strong ability, just in the wrong format.
Mm-hmm.
Galarian Slowking V is, I think, the last VMAX of the set. Mixing, discard a card from your hand, then draw 3 cards from your deck. Better than nothing, I guess. Lets you at least get a little bit of consistency. It's a single strike Pokemon as well, for what it's worth. And then Doom Word, the defending Pokemon is knocked out at the end of your opponent's next turn. These effects have never been typically good. There's been a couple of instances where they've been okay. But again, we're in such a format where we have Birdkeeper, Switch, E-Roop now, Air Balloon. We have so many ways of moving. This is never really realistically going to be doing much outside of stamping them down to 1 and hoping they can't move. So yeah, not great attacks for the basic, and unfortunately the VMAX isn't much better. Max Toxin does 10 and poisons the opponent for 12, so it actually does base 130 technically, but again we have so many moving options. This is basically doing 2 for 130. Sometimes you'll stamp them and they will you'll be taking a knockout because they can't move, but if they can't move, that means you don't really want to be you're wasting time using Max Toxin into them again. At which point it's kind of a wasted turn, so you're not really even gaining much tempo because they die going back into their turn. So like there's never any time where Max Toxin works out good for you, I don't think.
Competing with Eternatus is hard, and it has all the Eternatus weaknesses. So
yeah.
So that's probably your issue. It can be Houndoomed onto, so you're less hammer weak, I guess, and it adds the 10 base to like 50, but it's not meaningful.
So Viper is another single strike Pokemon. This one actually seems pretty cool. Strength Tail for Dark Colorless does 90, and if you play a single strike supporter from your hand this turn, this attack does 90 more. So 180 for 3 on a basic 1 prizer is pretty good when you consider single strike energy, which is going to be how you're powering this thing up. Let's be honest. We'll push it up to like maybe let's say 220 if you've got 2 on, and then you've got the supporter that you need to be playing to do the extra damage, being Karen. more often than not, which is going to push it up to maybe 260, 280, maybe even 300 plus in the late game. That actually seems pretty scary, to be honest, in terms of being able to deal with VMAXs, which is great. It can, or I think it's very realistically going to be able to one-shot Vs because it does base 180, so you need to have lost 2 prizes, or you need to have lost 1 prize and have 1 single strike energy on you. That's not going to be difficult. I actually think that this seems like a fairly strong single prize attacking deck. It doesn't fall under the same weaknesses as things like Primeape, which is a stage 1. This just feels like it's a better Primeape, to be honest. It's a more costly Primeape, but it does, I think, a far more consistent level of damage because it's on a basic.
Yeah, squids are back. This is squidding from the deck that you can pot all your way back into. I think this seems really good to me, actually. I think, yeah, very, very viable one prize archetype, I would say. One of the most viable one prize archetypes we've seen. It's a bit annoying that you have to proactively Bruno on certain turns to just get yourself into a 4-card hand. So you'll brick just like Squids used to. But this card seems pretty pog to me, realistically. And you could, again, if we go back to that with just playing regular Urshifu Vs, and you play like just 2 regular Urshifu Vs, and then you play like 3 Survivors. You let your first Urshifus go down, and then Survivor becomes the late game Karen play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, we have single strike Squids now is a thing, and they seem very good to me.
Yeah, I think this is pretty strong, to be honest. Spiritomb is another card that got a lot of hype on Twitter. Ghostly Scream. Count the number of Pokemon in your opponent's discard pile. Put that many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. Then your opponent shovels all of those Pokemon into their discard from their discard pile into their deck. So basically, this is a combination of Karen and Oricorio. Both were seen as Night March answers back in the day. This combines them both and is now a Mad Party answer. I've seen people saying this kills Mad Party. If Mad Party ever becomes tier 1 busted, it does. But I think if Mad Party stays at the tier it is at, this sees no play, because Mad Party is not a big enough deck for you to play a card for it.
Do you not think Urshifu needs to play this card? Rapid Strike? They played 2 Great Catcher, 2 Boss. They kill your Jirachi.
They do kill your Jirachi very, very quickly.
And then you panic Spiritomb, and then you feel slightly good again.
Yeah.
I feel like if you kill a teacup, like a big teacup on a small teacup, or a big teacup on a Bunnelby, that's game changing.
Yeah, maybe this does see play in.
I wouldn't write off Mad Party completely, because its matchup spread doesn't seem that bad.
Oh no, I think Mad Party is good. Sorry, yeah. What I was saying was, if Mad Party needs to get better for this to be good in Standard. I'm not saying it's not getting better. I'm just saying I don't know that this kills Mad Party yet, because we haven't seen whether Mad Party is as good as we think it is.
Yeah, it's not going to kill Mad Party. It's going to be like the balancing act that decks with bad matchups to Mad Party will tech in. Mm-hmm. So like, if Mad Party got big enough, Pikarom could put this in right now, because it was one of the hardest matchups. Or anything could just put this in, which is good, but it's not going to be like this is in every deck because Mad Party's a deck.
No, which I think is what a lot of people thought when they first saw this.
It's pretty trolled though.
It's hilarious, and obviously it's just a strict upgrade to every like Mad Party in Expanded, which it is like relevant in Expanded because Mad Party is a very good deck in Expanded. So it's a strict upgrade there. But yeah, I don't know how much of an impact this will have in Standard, and I don't think it warrants the whole why would TPCI print Mad Party if they were just going to print this argument, because I don't think this kills Mad Party. I think it is sometimes...
We lose 3 CE anyway to rotation, which is probably going to really hurt Mad Party, right?
I feel like if you want to play Mad Party, the next 3 months is when you should do it, because this is probably the best time in Standard Mad Party will be playable.
Good luck to you.
Yes. Scolipede is bulk.
Bulk with some... Is there even any good artwork? They're pacing around, aren't they? Bloody hell, look at the Whirlipede. He's in a
I
hurry.
haven't even looked at the artwork on it. That is speedy. Zoom. Scrafty is bulk as well. Single Strike Urshifu I'm just going to talk about because we briefly touched on the Rapid Strike. Carnage Knuckle does the only relevant attack I think is Carnage Knuckle, which does 200. If you have any damage counters on you, which you can quite easily fulfill with a Houndoom. So again, 220 for 3. We've said 220 for 3 on a 1 prize was pretty good. Unfortunately, this is a stage 1, so it's a little bit less consistent than Seviper. So I think this card would be a little bit less of a meme if it wasn't like strictly outclassed by Seviper in the exact same set. But yeah, once again, Single Strike Single Strike Urshifu has been done dirty compared to Rapid Strike. Even though Rapid Strike isn't great, at least it doesn't have a strict better upgrade in the exact same set as it.
Yeah, it feels
kind of sad. Zangoose is obviously the counterpart to Single Strike Seviper. This is Rapid Strike Zangoose. Gale Claw for 3 energy does 50, and if you played a Rapid Strike support from your hand during this turn, you may do 50 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So similar kind of style of effect. I think this one is way worse though because I think the Rapid Strike supporters are not as just playable as the Single Strike supporters are. Bruno and Karen are very, very proactive, whereas things like Brawly, it's just like you don't want to be brawling to play a Gale to do extra damage with a Gale Claw. At least Bruno is shuffling and drawing 4 if nothing else. So
yeah, you've got Karina's focus as well, but still.
Oh yeah, that was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the Inteleon combo card that we're after? Maybe. You can Persimmon, so you do.
Yeah, I mean, when you Persimmon, this actually does represent what 150, 210 damage for 3 energy, which is basically the same as Single Strike Seviper. So it represents the same amount of damage. Okay, maybe it's not as terrible.
You can scope this as well, so it's 2 110 damage pings and 50 to the face.
Yeah. A one-of in Blaziken? Yeah, maybe it's just a random one-of in Blaziken. If you're playing Karina...
I like that idea a lot, actually.
Maybe just clean stuff up in the late game.
Your mop. Get your mop.
Yeah. But it's never going to be a Zangoose deck like the Survivor deck will be.
No.
So yeah, more of a tech card than anything. Shaman is literally just as good as Shaman EX. Look at the attacks, it's basically the same thing.
Mustarding Zangoose. That sounds hilarious.
Mustard Zangoose.
Mustard Goose. That won't work, but I love the idea.
That sounds terrible. I love it. Yeah, Shaman. I think. Well, we've all seen Ross's video, how it's a spiritual successor to Sky Return Shaman EX, so that's how good that is. And finally, Stoutland, I think, is the last relevant card. Well, somewhat.
Oh, we're talking about this, are we?
I thought we talked about all the cards with abilities. Remember,
go on, then.
As long as this Pokemon is your active, it's basically what do you call it? Aegis/Slash's ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active, all damage is mine. You take 30. All of your Pokemon take 30 less. Obviously, pretty bad on a stage 2. I don't think this is ever really going anywhere. Definitely very Pog art though. I love the Lillipup line. Look at how angry that Lillipup looks. He's ready to bow.
Yeah.
And then the Braviary is crap. So that's Matchless Fighters. I was pretty content when I woke up this morning and saw all of these cards. But then there was some very, very surprise card reveals from the set after that as well, which will be the other half of our June set. Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit. That's going to focus on Calyrex. We still haven't seen any Calyrex cards yet. I have a feeling these were accidentally leaked, to be honest, because I think it says right here, this is one of the few times the featured Pokemon were not revealed at the same time as the set announcement, which makes me think this was probably a boo-boo on Pokemon's end. But hey, we got to look at more cards, and we got like a really Pog one, to be honest, because Zeraora V is nuts.
Hold on, Jack. Show the sleeves first. Show them the Blaziken sleeves.
Tease people.
Come on.
You can't tease people like that,
Give
okay?
them what
Look at his
they
massive
want.
ears.
Give them the sleeves.
Look at his massive ears.
If you're not buying those sleeves, I don't know what you're doing.
It's so weird that these sleeves got lumped in with the Calyrex post rather than the Matchless Fighters post, because I looked at these and I was like, why is Blaziken? Like, why have they released Blaziken sleeves? And it took me a long time to like clock that Blaziken is in this set.
Yeah.
I just don't like. It's just so weird that they lumped it in. They lumped this story in with the with the Calyrex story.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of the sleeves, because look at Zeraora V. Zeraora V is a Rapid Strike Pokemon, so we already knew that the Calyrex forms were going to be Single Strike. One of them was going to be Single Strike, and one of them was going to be Rapid Strike, apparently, according to leaks. But yeah, Zeraora is a Rapid Strike Pokemon with an incredible attack. Cross Fist does 100, and if any of your other Rapid Strike Pokemon use an attack during your last turn, this attack does 160 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This attack knocks out a Dedenne on your opponent's bench, is how this can be read. Obviously, absolutely nuts for the amount of damage you get per energy. It's actually more damage than Rapid Strike Urshi's second attack, which is mental, absolutely mental. And it sort of follows up Rapid Strike Urshi really nicely as well, because typically the way we've seen Rapid Strike Urshi work so far is its second attack like cleans up prizes. Well, now it can be used to set up prizes, and Zeraora can be the one cleaning up prizes. So it means that you're not locked behind having to Gale Thrust or do any of these other attacks first, and then go into use Rapid Strike's second attack to take the prizes that you've been setting up. It turns out you can just use the Rapid Strike, do 240 across the board, then just come in with Zeraora and just clean up all of those prizes really, really quickly, which is bonkers. It's crazy how like one of the best cleanup attacks actually turns into also one of the best setup attacks in the game. I mean, it was already good as a setup attack, but like now you have a very clear way of just being able to capitalize on where you put the damage. On top of this also being, you can set this up in one turn, which is nuts because you can Koko Rapid Strike energy and you've got a Zeraora out in one turn from having nothing. Yeah, it's just crazy. This card is absolutely bonkers. Again, it feels like they've really, really pushed Rapid Strike and not Single Strike.
Yeah, this card's just wild. Works with Blaziken, works with Empoleon, works with Urshi, obviously. And I mean, what's the stipulation if you attacked last turn? I mean, come on. It just means that this isn't used on like turn 2, basically, but every other turn of the game, it's just wild. So, very, very good card.
You can even Blaziken to this. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just, oh.
Yep.
It's so mental to me, because then we're going to scroll down to Tornadus V, and you're going to wonder whether it's the same company designing the cards. Tornadus V is a single strike Pokemon that has Blow Through that does 20 damage, and if there's a stadium in play, it does 20 more damage. Ooh.
Could be 60 for one, so don't.
Be 60 for one. That is the exact same attack as Blaziken VMAX with no stipulations. Correct. Blast Hammer does 180, and you discard an energy from this Pokemon. Well,
just the 4 energy attack there.
Yes, that's 1 more energy than Single Strike Urshi, and you don't hit anything for weakness. So that's also...
And you discard.
And you discard, so that's also not good. But it's fine, because the VMAX is good, right, Joe? Oh, wait, no. Blast Wind does 60 for 2 energy. Blaziken does 60 for 1 energy and has text. This does 60 for 2 energy with no text. Yes, I get this is a colourless type, but also Blaziken's second attack is basically a colourless attack. Like, there is no logic in my mind as to why this and Blaziken can be printed together. How? Max Fujin is... the big attack, for 4 energy, you do 120, and if there's a stadium in play, you do 120 more. But you do have to discard the stadium, because otherwise it would be a bit too good. Doing 4 for 240. So yeah. What more
That's
do I need to
available.
say? That's available.
That's available in the set.
Mark, the logic is they need to make bad cards so that people need to buy more packs to get the good cards, but these two cards aren't even in the same set. They are in English, but they're not in Japanese. If these two cards are in the same set in Japanese, I would understand more. But this is, like, this and Blaziken, when you compare this to Blaziken, it's just out of this world.
Two great new additions to the game.
And finally, for all of the psychos out there, we've got the cast forms. They all have the forecast ability, which is basically the same as Rotom from Forbidden Light, I want to say.
Yeah.
That needed 12 tools, I think. This needs 8 stadiums in the discard.
Just the 8.
And that you basically ignore all energy attacks in the cost. So they all have the same ability. The normal cast form has 80 damage and you draw until you have 6, which is pretty weak, to be honest. Anticyclone Blast is actually one of the more interesting ones just because it one-shots a Zacian. Does 150, but you have to discard a stadium in play. There's probably always going to be a stadium in play, though, especially if you're playing enough to get 8 in the bin. You're probably always going to be able to get a stadium in play. So this actually one-shots a Zacian, but you're probably never having 8 stadiums in the discard, so it's not really a great tech. The Rainy form is a 20 spread to everything, which is... Maybe this is the attacker, Joe. Maybe this is Inteleon's best mate. Just more spread. Why not? And Snowy form does 120, and you can't do 120 next turn. You can't do Frost Typhoon next turn. Obviously, they're pushing for this to be a deck, but it's obviously not going to be a deck.
You haven't.
Great for Cube, though.
You haven't said that.
Great Cube cards.
They're too good for Cube.
Surely you don't get 8 stadiums.
You can't ever draft 8 stadiums. Or discard 8 stadiums. More to the point.
No, you're right.
Articuno. Everyone's got the ideas now.
You're right, Mark. There are good cards in this set. I'm just memeing, but like it's just.
So what are the upside stadiums of the format right now? It's like Power Plant.
Power
The
Plant.
only upside stadium. Gala Mine is not, because you need to retreat some of these.
Yeah.
Spikemuth, you also need to retreat some of your guys. There's no upside stadiums other than Power Plant.
It's Power Plant and Swell. Just to try and stop your opponent.
So bad. There needs to be some upside stadiums for this to ever be a consideration. It's complete trash right now, unfortunately. Until we get some massive upside stadiums of some nature.
Viridian to discard more stadiums. Yeah, sure.
You can Wander Labyrinth. That's an upside stadium. That's about it, right?
Yeah. Great art though. Little woolen and clay cast forms.
Wait, would you actually play energies and play Dojo in this deck? Is that the
Dojo's
twist?
an upside stadium. Oh, you can just play random rapid strike single strike cards and play single strike stadium.
Yeah, but then you're putting in good cards, and that's not allowed.
We're veering away from that by playing cast form.
Oh, I guess Tower of Darkness is upside because it's good draw.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can play like single strike cards to just discard cards.
Yeah. And you certainly want to discard a lot of cards.
And finally, if nothing else, we've literally just, as you can see, posted around an hour ago. Got Roadrunner out. Roadrunner is canon in Pokemon now. All 3 of these look great, obviously. I will be getting all of them, hopefully, obviously.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, Matchless Fighters is a pretty interesting set. There's not many hits, but I think the cards that are hits are bonkers. I think Blaziken is very, very strong.
Blaziken, Zeraora,
Persimmon,
Zapdos,
Zapdos,
Simeon. There's a cool Survivor thing brewing up. Probably starts off clunky, but could be worked into a deck.
Yeah. And then A handful of
Calion's
good.
a question mark. Yeah.
Handful of good items as well, and well, trainers as well.
Yeah.
I think both the single strike and the rapid strike items are good. Karen is good. And these two may see very niche play. Clara and Avery may see very niche play. But the items are definitely good. So yeah, pretty interesting set. Obviously, like we say, there's only one half. We've still got to wait a month or so before we see the rest of Silver Lance. Well, we'll see stuff between now and then, but it's still going to be like a month until we have the full set list. But yeah, we're around a month away from knowing the next set, I guess, which is mental. Pretty interesting cards, though. Definitely doesn't feel as impactful in terms of scope as Battle Styles did so far, but it does feel like there's going to be 2 or 3 cards that have very big impacts on the meta.
Yeah, a lot of supplementary cards and then a couple potential new archetypes sprouting out, which is cool.
But it feels, if anything, it feels like the set that will bring new archetypes will be the Calirexes. So
yes, probably that.
I'm expecting. I wouldn't be worried that there's no new archetypes here, and we're going to have like a Vivid Voltage style thing, because I think we are going to get some very, very good cards. We're yet to see some very, very good cards from Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit, to be honest.
Cool. That's us then.
Sweet.
Isn't it?
Yes. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's been fun. I'm glad we could stream today. We're going to go and try and upload this to YouTube, because apparently we can't upload videos right now. So let's see if we can cheat the system by uploading via Twitch. But yeah, some fun cards. I might be streaming tomorrow because I might play the Limitless Open. I'm undecided as to whether I'm going to yet, and if I do, I'm undecided as to whether I'm going to stream it. We'll see. But if not, next week is Battle Styles week, which is really exciting because we actually get to play. I was going to say with new cards, with Rapid Strike Urshi. So yeah, towards the end of the week, there'll be lots and lots of content, hopefully, from us, provided YouTube lets us upload, to do with Battle Styles, which is cool. Expect streams, expect deck analysis videos, expect the usual stuff. But yeah, thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. Let's go and see if there is anyone to raid. Do you know if anyone's on, Joe?
I can only see Amy.
Amy it is. Okie doke. Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like I say, maybe back tomorrow, maybe back next week. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers, everyone.